Hey everyone, it's Rihanna and welcome back to another video. I hope you guys are all keeping well and staying safe and of course watching loads of movies. So at this time we're obviously missing the cinema. I know I am. There were so many movies I was looking forward to in 2020 that have now been pushed back to next year or later on in the year, and miss walking down that aisle, man. I am very much missing the cinema. The popcorn I have at home just doesn't quite taste the same, and it's just not the same at home, is it? So while we are all missing the cinema, I thought I would cheer myself up and hopefully cheer you guys up by talking about my favourite cinema experiences. A while back I did a video on my sort of worst experiences / worst films I'd seen in a cinema. I'll leave the link to that here or here, wherever it goes. I'll leave a link to that there if you guys want to go watch that after this. But this video is the brighter side to that video. I've had some of the best times in the cinema and I would love to share them with you guys. So the first experience I want to talk about is actually the first cinema experience I remember, which was in 1999 watching Disney's Tarzan. At the time that this film was coming out, I must have been about 5 years old, and I don't remember much of it, but it has stuck in my mind as being my first cinema experience. I was so excited. I feel like I didn't go to the cinema much as a kid, so this must have been like a real treat for me as a child. I will always remember how terrified I was at the opening scene of Tarzan, because that scene is terrifying and traumatic and will haunt me to this day. And as a child, I was super scared. I remember like hiding behind my chair and everything. But if it sticks in my mind, it's got to be probably one of my favourite cinema experiences. I didn't fall in love with film going to see Tarzan. I do love the film Tarzan, but it wasn't until I was much older when I became obsessed with movies. But I thought my first cinema experience had to go in this list just because I was so excited as a kid, and Tarzan is a great movie. It's one of Disney's best. People overlook it because it's not a Disney princess movie, but the music, the animation, so good. Another one of my favourite cinema experiences was when I went to go see The Shining on Halloween. I went with two of my friends, and there's just something about watching horror movies with friends on Halloween. Obviously everybody does it, but it's just such a cool experience watching an old film that you would have never have got to see at the cinema when it came out, because I wasn't born then. It was something else, I tell you. There was no sort of dress up going on, but all three of us absolutely loved The Shining, so when they released that they were going to be showing it on Halloween, of course we had to go. It was just a really good atmosphere, and just it being Halloween just topped it all off. It was such a good experience. You know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to go to one of those live Rocky Horror Picture Shows on Halloween. I'm gonna have to add that to my bucket list because that sounds so much fun. Two of my favourite cinema experiences have actually been at the Prince Charles Cinema in London. They show new films, a lot of indie films, but they also play a lot of old classic films or cult films, and I absolutely love that cinema to death. So two of my favourite experiences were there. The first one was when I went with my friend to see a double bill of The Princess Bride and Labyrinth, two of my absolute favourite 80s films. People were in costume, people were quoting, people were singing along to the songs in Labyrinth. I was one of those people. It's quite a similar experience to The Shining because Labyrinth and The Princess Bride are both films I would have never seen in the cinema when they were released because I wasn't born yet. It's just something really magical about experiencing that and kind of nostalgic and sort of going back into the past as if you were there when it was released. It's a weird feeling. Being in a room of people that collectively love the films you're watching it's just another level of euphoria and joy. It's just wonderful. I wish I could do it all the time. I don't like when people talk during movies, but if it's quoting or singing along to a film I love and have seen many times, it brings me so much happiness. The second experience that I absolutely loved in the Prince Charles Cinema was Christmas of 2018, I believe it was. I took my boyfriend to see Die Hard, which is one of his favourite films, and believe it or not, I had never seen Die Hard before going to see it at this screening, and this was a room full of Die Hard fans, okay? Like, people were quoting, people were laughing at all the jokes, and I felt like a fish out of water. And as I just say with Labyrinth and Princess Bride and Shining, when you're in a room full of people that love the film you're watching and can quote it, etc, etc, it just makes the experience so much fun. And even though I hadn't seen Die Hard before and it's my first time watching, even though people were like quoting, etc, etc, it made the film for me. I love Die Hard now. It's one of my favourite Christmas movies, and yes, it is a Christmas movie. And that experience is just something I will never forget because I just had so much fun being surrounded by all these people that just love Die Hard. Getting to see the premiere of a film or going to a festival screening of a film is always a great time. There are several occasions where I've gone to the BFI Film Festival in London where I've seen the first screening of a film. My favourite films and experiences at the BFI London Film Festival definitely have to be The Shape of Water, which was obviously a huge release in BFI Film Festival. It was Guillermo del Toro's newest film in 2017 when it came out. It was full of people, everybody loved cinema, everybody understood cinema, and I feel like The Shape of Water is a film you kind of either get or you don't, and if you're not like a diehard cinema fan, you're probably not going to be fussed about it. Everybody was just so engrossed and sort of respectful of each other. It's totally the opposite of when I went to go see Die Hard and Princess Bride, etc, because everyone was quoting along. When you're in a film festival, it's a whole other atmosphere. You sort of all respect each other and stay quiet, but you all collectively respect and love and appreciate the art form in front of you. The Shape of Water definitely did that for me. It was such an atmosphere watching that in a full theatre. High Rise was another great one. They had a Q&A sort of session with the cast beforehand, and Tom Hiddleston was there and Elizabeth Moss was there, and it's just a weird whole experience watching a film in an audience where the cast members and director are also watching in the audience with you. There's like a weird presence, but it's the best presence ever. And another experience I loved at BFI Film Festival was when I went to go see American Honey. It was in a picture house that I'd never been to before. I think it was in Hackney, and I fell in love with that film after watching it at the film festival. Seeing that on the big screen is honestly something else. Indie films for me are a big thing because a lot of them do not come to my local cinema, so I don't get to see a lot of indie films, but when they come to the film festivals I head straight to the indies because I know I'm probably not going to be able to see them at my local. So yes, American Honey, always beautiful, and I cried. a weird feeling just came over me watching American Honey at the BFI Film Festival. I just loved it. Another premiere I went to was actually at Film 4, which they host at Somerset House every year, and that was to see Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, and I will forever remember watching this film with two of my best friends. It poured with rain from the sky and from my eyes. If you've seen Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, you will know what I'm on about. It is such a sad film. It was it was such a pouring wet day, and all of us just persisted. We all sat there in the pouring rain getting absolutely drenched, but I will never forget watching Me and Earl and the Dying Girl in the pouring rain at Film 4 Somerset House. It was one of the best experiences, even though I'm pretty sure I got a cold from that one. Good experience, but like, was it worth it? Definitely worth it. I love watching films with other people that love film, because afterwards, whether you love it or you hate it, you all just get to talk about it and just have your own opinion and nobody judges you, and it's great. So one of my favourite experiences going to the cinema was actually watching Dunkirk in Imax. Not only was it the most intense cinema experience of my life, because Dunkirk in IMAX, pretty sure I had a heart attack. I actually went to go see this in IMAX with Nicole from nics&nacs and Ryan from Ryan Jacob when I was in Los Angeles in 2017, and we all collectively loved the film, and afterwards, you know, we had a long discussion about it, and it's mainly not even the experience of watching the film, even though I had a great experience with Dunkirk. As I said, heart attack, so intense. It was more like the after. When you can talk to other people that love and appreciate film about a film that is so well crafted, it's just the best feeling. It's just so nice to be able to talk to people and discuss films, and I discuss films with you guys all the time, but it's just so cool experiencing a film you all collectively love and then talking about it afterwards. It's also a pretty cool experience watching a film that maybe is a little more out there and maybe not so much for the general public, and discussing that afterwards as well, because one of my favourite cinema experiences was when I went to go see Birdman with a bunch of my friends, and some of these friends were into film, some of these friends weren't into film, they were just curious about the film. And I love Birdman. I could go on about Birdman for days, but some people I went to the cinema with, well, absolutely hated it, and we were having this discussion afterwards. I was beaming when I came out of Birdman. I had just experienced one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. So well crafted, amazing acting. I was raving about the cinematography because Emmanuel Lubezki's a genius, and it's actually really interesting having a conversation with someone who thought the exact opposite of you. I will not only remember my experience of Birdman because I loved it and I had experienced something incredible, I will remember it for the conversations I had afterwards. The last sort of category of film experiences I want to talk about are probably my favourite experiences. I love midnight showings and big premieres. I get hyped up about films so much I could probably burst. I've been to so many Star Wars midnight screenings, I've been to so many Marvel midnight screenings. I am a midnight screening kind of girl. I can't do it too often now because I work a 9-to-5 job, it's hard with the sleep, but back then when I was in university I would be at midnight screenings all the time. I think I even went to a midnight screening of friggin' Independence Day. I watched a double bill of Independence Day and Independence Day Resurgence, which was a pile of crap, but I loved midnight screenings. My all-time favourite midnight screening has to be Star Wars The Force Awakens. Oh my goodness, I could have literally burst out of my skin. I was so excited for that movie. You had people coming in dress up, you had people cheering, you had people clapping, and I live for it. I do get annoyed when the plane lands and people clap, but if a film ends and people clap, I love it. I love that everyone else around me is super hyped up for what I'm watching. Now, I have had many great experiences watching Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm pretty sure I watched it at midnight with one of my friends, and then I went to sleep for a little bit, and then I went back and watched it the same day. And then the next day I came back home and watched it with my family. So I think I watched The Force Awakens 3 times in 2 days. I have no regret. I also watched The Force Awakens at an open air cinema with my 2 best friends. We got pizza, we had blankets. It was great. I have so many good memories of watching The Force Awakens, probably one of my favourite Star Wars movies. We'll talk about that soon. I just got this lovely new box set and all the Star Wars movies. So we're going to talk Star Wars soon. And even though I'm a die-hard Marvel fan, I saw Thor the Dark World at the midnight screening. I'm pretty sure I saw Winter Soldier and Civil War at the midnight screening. I didn't actually go to the midnight screening for either Infinity War or Endgame. I wish I had, but as I say, 9-to-5 job, it sucks. But my experience of watching Avengers End Game still remains one of my favourite cinema experiences. We booked the first showing after work the next day. I drove up to my biggest cinema, I met my boyfriend, we went to go see Avengers End Game, and it was glorious. You've seen that video around the internet where people cheer when Doctor Strange makes all the portals and everyone comes through just before the big fight scene. You've seen the video of people clapping, right? I feel like that was my cinema when that happened. People were clapping, people were laughing, people were crying. This movie in itself is an experience, but the actual cinema watching experience, one of my favourites. I loved it. I wish I could relive it sometimes. I was also laughing and crying and cheering and just fully invested in the film. It was like I was in the film. When I did my review of Avengers Endgame, I actually recorded my experience before and after, so I'll leave a link to that here or here. I'll never know where it is. So you guys can go and experience that firsthand, but obviously loved Avengers Endgame. So many emotions came over me seeing that film, but it remains one of my most memorable and favourite cinema experiences. I loved sharing my favourite and most memorable cinema experiences with you guys. I hope you enjoyed listening. Please let me know down below in the comments what your favourite cinema experiences have been. Let's just hope all of this gets sorted out soon so we can return to our beloved cinema soon. I swear to God, if they postpone June, heads will roll, people. Of course, if you enjoyed watching this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. All my social media links, including my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and Letterboxd, will be down below in the description if you want to come follow me. And thank you guys, as always, so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye!